A very good evening to all my dear students. I welcome you on behalf of ICAI for second class of Share Capital and Debentures. We had the first session of chapter 4 on Monday, that is 7th of April. I hope you have revised section 43, 46 that we have done in the previous class, as well as sweat equity shares. So today we will be moving ahead, but as always, we have a quick recap. So that recap is also coming up on the screen. But let me see our beautiful students on the portal. Mr. Vishal, Anubhav, Soumya, good evening, everyone. Priyanka, Almas, all of you. Yes, I have read your messages, ma'am. We have revised. So that's wonderful. Pragya, Mr. Remy. All right, Priyanka Pandey, I will just get it checked from the back end why it is not visible on the portal. Good evening, Ms. Varsha Chaudhary, Priya Mishra, all of you. Welcome to the class. So let's have a quick recap. We have started with share capital and debentures in the previous lecture. I told you section 43 till 71, we'll be dealing with shares and share capital. Section 72 exclusively talks about debentures. After that, we have discussed in detail the difference between stock and share was very minute. Quickly tell me, the fully paid up shares together are known as what? All right, Mr. Harsh, just remind me when I open the module, remind me of this 4.26. I will clarify your doubt. An excellent answer given by all of you. Yes, ma'am, it is called stock. So bundle of fully paid up shares is known as stock. And you can convert your shares into stock and reconvert them into fully paid up shares of any denomination. After that, we have discussed equity and preference share capital with voting rights, with differential voting rights, and preference share capital are given preference for two important things. Who is going to tell me the first one to answer? For what two things the preference share capital are given the importance for? Payment of dividend and repayment of capital. Mr. Anubhav, Priya, and Varsha are the first one to send the correct answers. Mr. Almas, very nice. Great, all of you. I'm just finding the students who are there, who have logged in on the portal also. All right, Soumya correct, Pragya correct. All of you have given the correct answers for this one. So if the dividend is not paid, today in our class, we will understand how it will affect your preference shareholders. If the dividend is not paid, whether it will affect their voting rights or not, that is what we will be discussing in today's lecture at length also. All right, Mrs. Meenu, that's correct. Astha Sethi, your answers are correct. Equity shares with differential voting rights. After that, we discussed at length in section 43, where you have seen the parts of share capital, equity, and preference share capital is given. Differential voting rights shares are given. So we have had a quick recap in the previous class also, but as we always follow a ritual of revising and then moving forward. So any doubts in the DVRs? AO authorization is important. Do we need to pass an SR or OR when we have to issue DVRs? Correct answer, OR. The voting power of the DVRs shall not be more than 60%, 50%, 75%, or 74%. Please pick up a correct answer. The voting rights of the DVR shareholders shall not be more than. Excellent. Everyone has given the correct answer. This proves me that you have revised your work very well, children. So yes, it's correct. That is 74% of total voting power should not be exceeded. Then we have discussed this was the compliance, then 3 defaults, and any other 3 defaults, that is term loan payment, dividend on preference shares. What is the time period after which they can issue the differential voting rights after making the default good? 3 years, 2 years, 5 years? Yes. Pragya, Naya, Anubhav, all of you, Priyanka, correct answer. 5 years is the correct answer. Then we had at length discussion about the explanatory statement also. After that, children, we discussed certificate of shares, section 46, how they are issued, their prima facie evidence. I was planning to take up one question also related to this. Let me just see if we can take up one question related to this topic. Okay, shareholders variation rights we'll be doing today. After that, I will take up that question. All right, not a problem. We'll still see if related to your share certificates, right? Let me just open it for all of you. Conditions of DVRs is clear to everyone. All right, section 46 we will take. Any doubts in issue of share certificates, children? I wanted to take up one practical question with all of you because I was not able to take that question in the previous class related to section 46, okay? All right, let me just first complete the topic. Then, okay, no doubt everyone has written. So that's great because that question again will have reference of section 55 also. So you'll not be able to answer it. So quickly tell me how many people should have signed the share certificate in order to prove it as a prima facie evidence of title of such shares. 2 directors. Common seal, if common seal is not there, 2 directors. Can we have, if the board permits, at least 1 or 2 of the directors who shall be other than MD and whole-time director? Yes, that's true. And if you have appointed CS, then 1 director and CS will be signing it. Excellent. All right. And what is the time period for issuing the duplicate share certificate? What is the time period for listed company and for the unlisted company? This is my question for all of you. What is the time period within which the listed company shall be issuing the certificate? Kirubha, excellent. Okay, Asta Sethi, I'll just open page number 4.6 and clarify your doubt. Excellent. 3 months and 45 days is the correct answer. So for the listed companies, they have given you the time period of 45 days. And for the unlisted companies, it can be issued within 3 months time period. So children, if you have revised properly, then you will definitely remember these kind of things because examiner might not ask you whole of the question, write a note on share certificate. Now we are big students, we are professionals. So if we have read the particular section thoroughly, then any question from that particular section can come. All right? Okay. So after that, we have discussed the penalty. I told you it's a very important penalty. All of you have learned it. 5 times of the share value involved and 10 times, or maximum fine will be rupees 10 crore, whichever is higher. All right. An officer in default will also be liable for a fine of 447. After that, we have voting rights. Section 47. Now, few students have raised a query related to study page 4.6. So let me just open the study material so that we can clear the doubts then and there. Otherwise, we'll keep looking for the doubts later on. Page number 4.6, somebody was asking. Yes, who was asking for page number 4.6? Please type your query again. Yes, thank you, Miss Varsha Chaudhary. She's writing after revising everything has become so easy to retain. Kevin, what are you asking? Miss Pragya Agarwal, right? Please ask your query. Somebody was asking the query on page number 4.6. 4.6 tells you about the preference share capital, that the payment of dividend has to be made and the repayment of capital has to be paid. I think we took up the same query in the previous class also, where a student has asked about the equity pool. Are you having the same doubt? So here the repayment of the capital has to be made. So it says only the amount which has been paid up or deemed to be paid up. So there were 5,000 preference shares of the value of rupees 10 each. So it is 50,000 share capital, but actually the holder has only paid rupees 8. So 5,000 into 8 is 40,000. Now when you have to repay the share capital, you will pay 40,000 or 50,000, tell me. Absolutely correct, ma'am. We will pay 40,000. The paid up amount will only be paid back. Now here it is asking if there is any premium to be paid. So today I will be telling you at the time of redemption of preference share capital, at times we have to pay them the premium also. That will be paid only after equity share capital, means first the equity shareholders will be given the money and out of the surplus the premium will be paid. You will understand this point with respect to section 55 in much more clarity. All right, किसका doubt था? ये Miss P. I hope Miss P, your doubt is clear now. So this, they are talking about the payment of premium at the time of redemption. So section 55 will clear. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Harsh is asking amendment on page 4.26. I again remember that I think we took this topic also last time. But still, देख लेते हैं एक बार दोबारा. 4.26. Are you into sweat equity shares? Because I wanted to revise with all of you. Have you revised sweat equity shares, everyone? 4.26. Harsh, what is your query over there? All right, this is your 4.25 and here is your 4.26. It is listed on the recognized stock exchange. Okay, this is only saying SEBI has to follow. Clause C to section 54 has been omitted not less than 1 year as on the date of issue elapsed since the date on which the company has commenced the business. So where we have done about 1 year time period, they are saying that it has now been removed from the provisions. Okay, this is as per 7th May 2018. Let me show you where it is writing about 54 subsection 1. I think you should refer to my notes for this because we have in detail discussed it over there. I hope, Harsh, you're asking about the same point only. So where it was written 1 year. So it has now been omitted by the Companies Amendment Act, where we have done about the sweat equity shares should be issued not more than 12 months. So this is different thing. Okay, don't get confused with this. The SR validity period that has been given, it should not be more than 12 months, means that within 1 year, the sweat equity shares have to be issued. All right. This is talking about some different amendment which was given under section 54(1). Now they have omitted it. Omitted means अब वो नहीं है, उसको include नहीं कर रहे. Is that clear? It has already been removed. A company may incorporated the commence the business on 9th November 2022 can issue sweat equity shares only after 8th November 2023. It says, Paul, there is no such condition given regarding the age of company. So this question is pertaining to this point. It's trying to tell you earlier there was certain kind of condition, but now it has been removed. All right, clear everyone? Jandra is saying that, ma'am, share of that class must already been issued means equity share. Yes, absolutely correct. So that particular category of equity share should already have been issued. Only respect to that, similar sweat equity shares can be issued. Clear hai sabko? And children, one humble request to all of you, once you're done thoroughly with the chapter, try doing all your descriptive questions also, which are given at the back. Now let's have a quick recap, quick discussion on the voting rights, section 47. And at the end, again, we'll be doing one descriptive questions related to sweat equity shares. Yes, Priyanka Pandey, all the conditions of sweat equity shares have to be specified by that company and they can issue the sweat equity shares only if the AO is authorizing, OR has been passed and all the conditions have been complied. But generally it relates to the permanent employee. So you have to see whether you're following under the category of permanent employee or not. Okay. Now voting rights, again, there are two types of shares. One is equity shares. Equity shares, another is preference shareholders. So now equity shareholders, I told you they are having the major stake in the company. They can vote on every resolution which is placed before the company. So whatever resolutions, meetings are coming up, they have a right to vote on that. But these dear preference shareholders, they don't have the right to vote on every resolution. पहले तो resolution का meaning क्या हो? Resolution means every decision that the company is going to take. Now, Mr. Harsh Shrestha has gone in share prospectus. Yes, what are you asking? Ma'am, I have a doubt in share prospectus filing with ROC is mandatory or it applies. So, share prospectus specifically, we did the SEBI notified companies have to comply with that. So, accordingly, you will file it with the ROC. Okay. Now, let's stay in share capital and debentures. Don't go here and there, all right? So that your focus is here and you can learn it and we have to complete the syllabus also on time. Okay, children? So let's come back to the topic, voting rights, equity shares on every resolution. Resolution means the decision which the shareholders have to take. But preference shareholders can vote only with respect to 3 points in case their dividend is not paid for 2 or more than 2 years. Otherwise, they're not coming and voting in your resolution. But if you don't pay their dividend for 2 or more than 2 years, then they will be treated as a normal equity shareholders and they will have the right to vote on each and every resolution. In case preference shareholders are not paid their dividend for 2 or more than 2 years, then they will be treating themselves as the equity shareholders and they will be voting on all and every resolutions passed by the company. Other than that, at the time of binding up of the company and any other topic which is directly affecting their interest, that is repayment of capital, mein agar aap unki dikkat karoge, so they have the right to vote on that resolution. So equity shareholders having DVRs as per the articles and terms of issue, whatever they have been defined, they will vote as per that. In normal equity shares, they will be voting in proportion to their paid up capital. What is the meaning of this paid up capital? A has taken up 100 shares in a company, which are of rupees 10 each. So if the total capital of the company is 10,000 rupees, or say 1 lakh rupees, it will become easier for you. If the total capital is 1 lakh rupees and Mr. A is holding 100 shares of rupees 10 each, so that means he's having the share capital of 1,000 rupees. So how much percentage of share capital A is holding in this company? How much percentage of share capital? 1% or 10%? Everyone is on the same page. 1% of the share capital you're holding or 10%. Okay, let's assume it's 10%. Let's make it 10 lakhs then. Okay. Let's see. Amount of calls which are paid up by the shareholders. Yes, absolutely correct, Harsh. It will depend upon the amount. We are assuming that he has paid up rupees 10 per share. So 1,000 he has paid up. 1,000 he has paid up. So how much rights he is having now? He will be having the rights equivalent to 1,000 shares of his voting right. But now let's assume that he has only paid up the share capital of rupees 8 each. So that means only 800 share capital he's owning. Now his interest will be 0.8%. So your voting rights in proportion to the paid up share capital that you have paid in the company, it is only with respect to that amount. You cannot have the full, if you have not fully paid up, then whatever amount you have paid up, you will be having your voting rights only with respect to that. Are you understanding? There is B shareholder who has fully paid up. C shareholder who has fully paid up. So B and C has paid up fully rupees 10 each, rupees 10 each. So unka voting right full ho jayega. Okay. And A has not fully paid up. He has paid only rupees 8. So his voting right will be restricted till 8 rupees. All right. Everyone is clear on this point. Section 47, the voting rights. So quickly tell me if the dividend of the preference shareholders is not paid for 1 year or more. Mrs. Sanu, please close your cameras. Children, you're not supposed to switch on your cameras. You will stay on mute and you will not switch on your cameras. All right. So if the dividend is not paid for 1 year or more, just the preference shareholders will get the right to vote on every resolution, yes or no. Excellent, Bhumika. The first one to answer, Miss Soumya, correct. Very good. They will not get the right. Mr. Harsh, absolutely correct. Let me see the students on the portal also. Yes, Astha, your previous answers are correct. Yes, yes, Mrs. Meenu, it is section 71. Don't worry, debentures are in section 71. You don't have to worry for that. We will be doing debentures at the end of the session. When we have done share capital, then we will be doing the debentures also. Excellent. It should be 2 or more than 2 years, then only they will get the right. What are the 3 things on which the preference shareholders get the voting rights? Only for the decisions directly affecting their interest at the time of winding up, and only with respect to the matters related to the repayment of share capital. Now let's start with another very important topic, which talks about the variation of shareholders' rights. After we are done with section 47 and 48, we will again go to the study material and we will read all the context from there. Yes, Mrs. Julie Kumari, your answers are correct. All the students in the portal, I'm getting your answers, so don't worry, keep replying that. All right. Variation of shareholders' rights. Section 48. Where the share capital. Now, what is the meaning of the word variation of shareholders' right? Can we change the shareholders' right? Just all right, student. Variation in shareholders' rights means can you change the rights of the shareholder? There are different categories of the shareholders, A class shareholders, B class equity shareholders, or even the preference is a separate class of shareholders, differential voting right shareholders, equity shareholders. So there are different shareholders. Now they have been given certain rights, their dividend rights, their voting right. We just discussed in the previous section 47, about their voting rights. Whatever amount of the share capital they have paid up, they will get that much rights in the voting of the company. Now, can you change those rights? You promised to pay dividend of 5% to the shareholders. Now you're saying we will pay 4%. You promised to give them a voting right with respect to fully paid up shares. Now you're trying to change their voting rights. Whatever kind of rights you're trying to change. So it says where the share capital is divided into different classes of shares, the rights attached to these shares can be varied. Varied means change किए जा सकते हैं. क्या आप change कर सकते हो? पहले तो मुझे ये बताओ. Can you vary their rights? Can you change their rights? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. We can vary only with respect to section 48. Okay. So we will have to take the consent in writing of at least 3/4 of the value of the issued shareholder. So whatever is the share capital of the company, at least 3/4 of the shareholders should give their consent in writing that yes, we are okay if you're changing the dividend from 5 to 4%. At least 3/4 of the issued share capital holders will have to give their consent in writing. Those who are asking in Hindi, कम से कम 75% of the shareholding जिनके पास है, वो लिखित में देंगे कि हाँ जी हम ये वेरिएशन से सहमत हैं, आप हमारे राइट्स वेरी कर सकते हैं. एक तो ये ऑप्शन है, वन ऑप्शन इज दिस. और यू विल हैव टू पास अ स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन इन द जनरल मीटिंग फॉर दैट रिस्पेक्टिव क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स. So if there is A class equity shares whose rights needs to be changed, so you will have to ask A class shareholders to give their consent in writing. At least 3/4 of them will give their consent in writing, or you will simply ask the shareholders to pass the special resolution. Now, variation of shareholders' rights will be made only if it is allowed as per MOA or AOA. What is MOA and AOA? Yes, absolutely, Harsh. Consent of shareholders is the key point here because this is the only point. Otherwise, we are studying about ORSR. Absolutely, Deepika. 75%, so 3 times of the shareholders more than have consented. Oh, very smart. Anubhav and Miss Pia has written the full form of AOA and MOA. I'm asking you what is the meaning of memorandum and articles, children? So memorandum is the constitution of the company, charter of the company, which gives your whole objective and everything for which the company is formed. Articles tells you the rules and regulations. Now, when the articles tells you the rules and regulations, they will refer over here, are we allowing the variation of shareholders' right? उसमें लिखा होना चाहिए. Either MOA में या AOA में, it should have been written that changes in the shareholders' right is allowed. Then only you can do the variation. If it is not written, can you do the variation? Absolutely, Priyanka. It's a public document. Great. So it should mention that you can do the variation, then only. Otherwise, no is the correct answer. No, ma'am. Then we cannot make the variation. If it is not written, then at least variation should not be prohibited at the time of issue. If no power is given, then it should not be prohibited also when such shares are issued. See, it talks about 2 points. One is MOA or AOA should allow the variation. Allow the variation means उसमें लिखा होना चाहिए that yes, you can make the variation. If not given, then it should not be prohibited. ये नहीं लिखा होना चाहिए at the term of issue that we will not change your rights. Now, I issued A class equity shares, and on the letter of allotment at the time of issue, I wrote it that your rights will not be changed. Can you do the variation? Tell me. No, ma'am. We have already written that you cannot do the variation. How can you do the variation? So that means we have prohibited. So such kind of prohibition should not be existing. If nothing is mentioned, then yes, absolutely, Anubhav. Nothing is mentioned means it's not prohibited. So variation in the shareholder requires the consent to be given. It should be allowed. A provision to this effect means that a provision shall be given that yes, you can make a variation of the shareholder's right in the MOA or AOA. Or in the absence of such provision, the variation should not be prohibited. Means if no power is given, then it should not have prohibited it. तो दोनों चीजों में से एक चीज होनी चाहिए. या तो आप पावर दे दो. If you have not given the power, then at least not prohibited. Don't restrict. If it's silent, nothing is written, then it means that yes, you can do the variation. Now, if variation of one class of shareholders affects the rights of other class of the shareholders, you want to vary the rights of class A shares, it is affecting the other class also. Let's take a very vague example. For example, differential voting rights. You have been given lesser voting rights and more dividend. But if I try to give you more voting rights, then the ordinary equity shareholders will get very upset that we have one share and one voting right. Now you are giving our rights to the DVR people. So somehow they will be affected. So for a layman's example, class A shareholders, their rights are being changed and it is affecting the other shareholders. Then if such effect is happening, then the other class of shareholders, consent of 3/4 of the shareholders shall also be taken. फिर आपको उनकी परमिशन भी लेनी पड़ेगी कि आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है, हम इनके राइट्स वेरी कर रहे हैं, जिस वजह से आपके राइट्स में भी दिक्कत आ रही है. So you simply take their consent in writing, at least 3/4 of the shareholders in writing. So class A shares are varied. Then if class A shares are being varied, then you have to pass the SR or 3/4 of the consent of class A shareholders. No approval is needed of class B shareholders. But if class B shares are affected because of this variation, then simply ask them to give their 3/4 of the shareholders' consent. SR is not required. SR is not required. Let's make it very simple, these 2 points. Point number 1 is clear. Consent in writing, 3/4 of the shareholders has to be taken or SR has to be passed. This is clear. Second is clear. Either MOA or AOA will give the power. If power has not been given, then it is don't prohibit it. ऐसा नहीं लिखा होना चाहिए कि it is prohibited. अगर नहीं लिखा है, तो you can allow the variation. Third point says, one class of shareholder rights are being changed or varied. Then, ma'am, what do we need to pass? If any class of shareholders' rights are being varied or changed, what do we need to pass? Quickly tell me. SR or don't say simply SR, Rajveer and Soumya. Anubhav is correct. Deepika, don't say only SR. Then, ma'am, either we take 3/4 of the consent of these shareholders in writing or we pass the SR in the general meeting. Children, it is fine, 75% in both the cases, I understand, but then you have to organize a general meeting and SR needs to be passed, or simply they have sent their consent, 3/4 of the shareholders have given their consent in writing, then also any of these things is happening, change their rights. But if this variation is affecting class B shareholders, then, my dear students, what do we need? Then class B shareholders also need to send their consent in writing, at least 3/4 of the shareholders. But here, no SR is required. ज़्यादा बड़ा लिखा ताकि आपको एग्जाम में याद रहे. No SR is required. क्लास बी शेयर होल्डर्स के लिए SR नहीं पास करने की जरूरत. वहां पे सिर्फ 3/4 of the consent of the shareholders is fine. It is okay if they have consent. Is that clear, everyone? Everyone is clear? Why no SR, ma'am? Very nice question, Ms. Soumya. Because there we are not changing their rights. We are changing the rights of class A equity shareholders, but it is affecting class B. So simply just inform them, since we are changing, please give your consent. There you don't need to pass the SR. That is the respective example, Ms. P, that we have taken different category of shares. So whenever the company issues shares, there are different categories of class of shares. Like equity shares have different categories. Preference shares have different category. Equity and preference in itself is a different category. Have you written this all? Can I erase it? Okay. Now, I told you 3/4 of the shareholders are giving their consent in writing. What about the 1/4 of the shareholders? You never asked about them. Ma'am, what will happen the 1/4 of the shareholders? So whenever you go for a wedding, there are some people who enjoy the food and there are some people who are always cribbing that this is not good, this is not good. Have you ever noticed? Let's try to make you a little relaxed. Don't burden yourself so much, class A shares, B shares. Thoda lighter note pe, just imagine when you go for a wedding or any function, some people are just enjoying thoroughly. Some people have a habit of, criticizing, pinpointing. We are not happy. Ah, very nice. Priyanka Pandey says, like Fufaji's, huh? Yes, ma'am, always such people are there. Excellent, Rajveer, everybody. Yes, Anubhav, they are dissenting shareholders. Okay, that's great. So, always such people are there. Correct. So, now what is the habit of these people? They will not agree. They will not be happy. So, 1/4 of the shareholders who have not given their consent are known as dissenting shareholders. भाई हम तो नाराज है इस वेरिएशन से, आपने वेरिएशन क्यों करा? आपने तो हमें कहा था कि ऐसा ही रहेगा, उन्होंने बोला देखो नो प्रोहिबिशन, आर्टिकल्स में पावर है या फिर कोई प्रोहिबिशन नहीं है तो हम कर सकते हैं, सेक्शन 48 में अलाउड है. But these 1/4 of the shareholders are very angry. They did not like this variation. Now, what is the provision for these dissenting shareholders of that class of shares? देख रहे हो, क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स की बात करेंगे हम हमेशा, उसी क्लास. अब इक्विटी शेयर्स में आप चेंज कर रहे हो, प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है, जिसकी चेंजेस हो रहे हैं उसी के डिसेंटिंग शेयर. Now, 10% of the holders of this issued share capital will go, who have not consented, will file an application to the tribunal within 21 days of this variation and asking, please cancel this variation. We are not satisfied. Variation will not take place unless and until it is confirmed by tribunal. So on 1st of April, company is taking a decision to pass the variation of shareholders' rights. 3/4 of the consent has been taken or SR has been passed. Then within 21 days, that is by 21st of April, these dissenting shareholders कितने जाएंगे, at least 10% of the issued share capital की होल्डिंग होनी चाहिए. 10% अगर आपके पास शेयर्स है तभी आपकी बात सुनी जाएगी, वरना नहीं सुनी जाएगी. So out of those 1 lakh shares, if the company is having, so 10% of the holder of the share, so 10,000 you should be holding, these shareholders who are holding in totality 10,000. Say for example, one is holding 500, another is holding 5,500, another is holding 4,500. तो हो गया ना 10,000 से ज्यादा, 10,500. So all these shareholders together will go and file an application that we have not consented in favor of the resolution. They will file an application to the tribunal, and tribunal will now ask the company that you will have to wait unless and until my order is passed. And the decision of the tribunal shall be binding on the shareholders. And once this tribunal's copy has come, we will have to file this copy with the registrar within 30 days from the date of order. So let's assume on 1st April decision was being taken. By 21st of April, the dissenting shareholders have gone. They said they went on 10th of April. On 10th of April, they filed an application within the 21 days time. Now, tribunal's order came by 30th April 2025. Then within what date this tribunal's order shall be filed with the registrar? Tell me. Within what date? Tribunal's order has come on 30th April 2025. Within what date? Excellent. By 30th May. Thirtieth May is the correct answer. Absolutely correct. Priyanka Pandey, why have you written 20th May? 30th May is the correct answer. See, Rajbir Ray, I was waiting for somebody to come up with 31st May. Why 31st May? So count from 1st May till 30th May. By 30th May, because 30 days means 30 days, not 31. Everyone has given. Shelja, Rajbir, Nisha Kumari, all the students have given the correct answer. So that's great. All right, understood. Easy है. Variation of shareholders right. फटाफट से revise करें. 3/4 of the shareholders. Let's revise it from the study material so that no point is left from there also. We'll have to go back. A shareholder who has been given the right to purchase the shares has a preemptive basis, is given a special class distinguishing from other shareholders. So I told you every shareholder has a respective class. 3 conditions have to be satisfied whenever you want to change the rights of the shareholders. A provision shall be given in the memorandum or articles, and if no provision has been given, then the terms shall not be prohibiting such variation. दोनों में से कोई भी चीज हुई है तो आप कर सकते. Yes, absolutely, Priyanka. Everything needs to be filed with the registrar because that is the main hub which has to have information about the companies, what they're doing. Now, at least 75% of the issued shares of that class will give the consent in writing. So that is 3/4 of the shareholders, or you pass a special resolution sanctioning a variation at a separate class meeting. So either you call them meetings or you take the consent in writing. If variation of one class is affecting the other shareholders, then you only take the consent of the other holders. There is no provision of the SR. At least 10% of the shareholders who have not consented, they are known as, यहाँ पे लिख लो इसके पास, they are known as dissenting shareholders. They are known as dissenting shareholders. Yes, Harsh, in totality, you have to take that limit. And what is the procedure? Within 21 days, they will file an application and this tribunal order will have a binding effect and the registrar has to be filed within 30 days. Now, without opening your study material, I give you 2 minutes. Read this illustration and answer me in the chat. Everyone is going to read and answer. Absolutely correct answers. Only few of you have given. I'm still waiting for the others. Bhumika, if class B shareholders will not agree, then the variation cannot be made because at least 3/4 of them have to give their consent. Very nice. So it says DBS Chemicals Limited issue ordinary shares of different class. DBS plan to vary their shares where only 105 shareholders are there. Now 0.5 shares of that class, remaining 5 holders hold 10 shares and presuming 100 holder who own 0.5 shares already signed the consent letter who is sanctioning the variation. How many holders out of 5 need to authorize the said letter? How many holders do you think need to authorize? 3 holders? This is what you say? Okay. Let's see the correct answer. Why 3? Because 0.5 will not be considered, right? So you have to have at least 3 shareholders out of the 5. So we have taken in totality 5 holders who are holding the 10% of the shares. So at least 75%. That means at least 3 should have been saying yes, then only, or SR needs to be passed. Mind it is said is 75% of issued shareholders, not 75% of holders. So that is very important. It is issued share capital ka 75%. Okay, not the 75% of holders. 75% of the issued shares of that class must give their consent in writing, or you need to pass an SR. That's why I told you SR and consent is different. All right, Deepika, I hope your doubt is clear. Yes, Priyanka, Soumya, Deepika, Bhumika, all of you have given the correct answer. So new issue of preference shares ranking pari passu with the existing shares does not amount to variation so as to require the consent of preference shares. Cancellation of shares and reduction will not amount to variation. So when we do reduction of share capital, then you will understand what is the detailed process for reduction of share capital. That is not something which is going to affect this. Variation will not lead to reduction of share capital. That means if you're varying the shareholders' right, it does not amount to cancelling of the shares. You're not cancelling the shares. You're not reducing the share capital. You're just changing their rights. Clear to everyone? I hope everything is now clear. Yes, like forfeited shares. So it is not reduction of share capital. Children, now section 49 to 51 that I'm going to do with you is very, very simple. In fact, I personally feel that this is the section which you know better than me because it is part of your accounts. You have been learning about share capital and debentures. How does the share capital application happens? So first you have share application money is called. Then you have allotment of securities, allotment money is taken. Excessive money is refund back if allotment is not as per the minimum subscription is not met, right? And then you know that first call, second call is made. Absolutely, Ms. Bhumika, correct. So on the basis of this call money, you have calls in advance, calls in arrears, all these points. Now, I am a company, ABC Limited, and I have three different category of shares, A, B, and C. And the share is of rupees 10 each. I said, A, you will fully pay up your shares, and B and C, you can partly pay up your shares. So law says in a single category of shares, you cannot have such kind of partiality. If the person is paying the partly paid up shares, you have to accept that partly paid up shares. But the company cannot say that, okay, you will pay partly paid up and you have to pay fully paid up. You have to treat all the shareholders on uniform basis. Uniform means on same level and basis. You cannot be partial with the particular category of shares. This is what your dear section 49 tells you. It says liability of a shareholder to pay the full value of shares held by him, currently partly paid up by making the calls for payment. So what is the meaning of this line? First call and second call. Every shareholder is under a statutory liability to make the full amount of the share declared. All the money paid under the memorandum or articles shall be a debt due from him to the company. So we all know this thing that every shareholder has to pay the amount that is fully paid up share, whatever is the amount mentioned in MOA and articles. You all know if the share is not fully paid up, then the share is forfeited. Remember? Everyone is here. Oh, you have gone for the break because you're not responding. I will give you a break. Don't worry. Where are your answers? Let me just see those. Harshada. Okay. Other students on the portal, where have you gone? Yes, forfeited shares is for the unpaid after the final call is made. Great. So here your liability to pay this dress when the valid call is made. So जब भी call होगी, then that time it is your liability that you have to pay the share price. Section 49 talks about the uniformity. Section 50 tells you calls in advance. One of the shareholder has already paid the money in advance. I have excess money, keep it. The call was made for 5 rupees. Mr. A paid 6 rupees. Is it calls in arrears or calls in advance? Tell me. Children, I want you to match my energy level. If I am creating so many questions, be quick in answering. I don't know where have you gone, rest of you. Yes, excellent. Now I have got wonderful answers, ma'am. It is calls in advance. Again, Ananya, Bhumika. Okay, now some new person. Ms. Shifa has starting answering. Mr. M.A. Varsha, good. Deepika, excellent. So keep answering. Nisha Kumari, Dhanush. Yes, now you make me sure that you're not sleeping. Julie Kumari, good. So everybody is awake. Yes, we need to address the call advance. Absolutely, Mr. Harsh. But here he's trying to tell you that Mr. A, even if you have paid the advance money, don't be so excited. Your voting rights will only be up till rupees 5%. Because company has called rupees 5, you have paid rupees 6, your voting rights will only be till rupees 5. ये थ्योरी पार्ट है, ये लॉ का पार्ट है. आपने ये अकाउंट्स में नहीं पढ़ा. आपने एंट्रीज पढ़ी है, जर्नल एंट्रीज, एवरीथिंग यू हैव डन. So this chapter is very much connected to you. I told you by the very first day. All the same terms will be coming up, but now you will understand the logics behind it. What is the law behind it? Why it has been made like that? And section 51 talks about the dividend rights of the shareholders. What is your dividend right? So if you have paid 10 shares, rupees 10 per share, you have paid rupees 10, fully paid up, you have full dividend rights. You have paid rupees 8 per share, you get the right as per rupees 8. If you have just paid rupees 5, you get the rights as per rupees 5%. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. See, Priyanka is writing, and when we did calls in advance in accounts, they also refer that to its theory in law. So that is how the subjects are also interconnected, right? Good. Okay. So now let's start with section 49. So this was your briefing of section 49 to 50. Calls shall be on uniform basis. Every call should be made on a uniform basis on all the shares falling under the same class. So I'll give you an example. A class shareholders, all the share, the 5 class under class A category, all the shareholders should have been called on the uniform rates. Usually share with some nominal value are considered as same class, but the shares of the same nominal on which different sums have been paid up shall not deem to fall into the same class. So it says don't get confused with the nominal value. You simply have to see the class of the shares. A shareholder on whom a regular call for payment has been made choose to pay only part of the sum due. Now this is interesting. If a shareholder who has been called to pay rupees 5, but he only paid rupees 2, balance is calls in arrears. My God, look at them. They're doing 5 minus 2, ma'am, 3. Thank you, Bhumika, for clarifying it is calls in arrears. What happened, children? Today you did not have your tea and coffee in the evening, right? Yes, absolutely correct. So that is calls in arrears. You cannot say that it is not on uniform basis. So if shareholder is paying the lesser amount, is the company bound to accept it? Yes, ma'am, they are bound to accept it. Clear? Simple? It is important to consider that the debt of all calls is not an entire and invisible debt. Therefore, company may bound to accept the amount tendered by the shareholder. How much amount of call on partly paid up shareholders will be the decision of the board, subject to the articles and terms of the issue. So it is up to the board to decide how much call on the partly paid up shares have to be made. I think example 6 will make you more clear because you are more practical students. Prism Glass Limited issued 3 series of equity shares. So there are 3 different series of equity shares, A, B, and C. All carry the same nominal value of rupees 100 each, and the paid up value is 100 for A, 80 for B, and 55 for C. Now, all will be considered as a different class of shares since the first class is fully paid up. No call can be made. In the remaining 2 classes, yes, children, can you make the call? For B, how much amount? Now start your plus minus calculations. Which MCQ, Pragya? Yes, 20 and 45. Excellent. So everybody is awake now. So 20 will be more paid, 45. So all they are from the different class of shareholders because uniform shareholders means for the same class. Here A category has already been fully paid up. So you can only call the balance amount. You cannot say that no, we will not ask B to pay more money. We will only ask C. You have to treat all the shareholders equal. समझ आ गया 49 सिंपल है भाई इक्वली यूनिफॉर्मिटी की बात कर रहे हैं और कुछ नहीं है. Where a shareholder paid the first 2 calls after a great delay and neglected to pay the third call. The directors, being annoyed, called him to pay the whole amount due. Is this call valid? Okay, do some brainstorming on this and raise your hands if you want to answer on this. I would want you to do some brainstorming on this and try to raise your hands and answer. Shareholder ने 2 calls pay कर दिए but बहुत time लगा. And he said, I will not pay the third call. Directors asked him to pay the full amount. Now you will have to pay. Can the director say that? It says a call can't be made on some of the members only unless they constitute a separate class of shareholder. Hence, it is an invalid call. You cannot say this thing to few shareholders. Yes, you will forfeit the shares. Simple. If partly paid up shares are not fully paid up, they can forfeit the shares, but they cannot ask some of the members only to pay it fully. आप uniformity रखेंगे, सबके साथ equal treatment करें. Is that clear? Everyone is clear on section 49? Yes, absolutely correct. Good. Now, section 50 is very, very simple. Section 50 tells you that if articles authorize, you can accept the whole or part of the remaining unpaid shares, although no part of the amount has been called. So I gave you an example. 10 rupees ka share hai. Company has called up rupees 5. Mr. A paid up rupees 7. This is the case of calls in advance. Such advance money will not give the members the voting right. तो voting right उसकी कितने पे रहेंगे? He will give the voting rights respect to 5 or 7. Tell me. Very good. Good students. Now I am so happy. Everybody is answering. But is there any advantage of section 50? फिर बनाया क्यों section 50? ये बताने के लिए कि interest can be paid. So Mr. A is now happy. I paid 2 rupees extra. I will get the interest at the rate of, say, for example, a rate of 6% may increase to 10% by the shareholders. So interest can be given if permitted by the articles. The rate of interest given in the articles could be varied by the shareholders. So they can keep on changing, say, for example, 6% or 10%. But yes, he can give the interest. So in calls in advance, what 2 points you have to remember? Please write down these points. If shareholder pays more money than called up amount, it is call in advance. However, the voting rights will be given or not be given on this advance? Will not be given on advance money, but interest can be paid if allowed in payment. Fair enough. So we have written a brief summary also. Naveen Kumar, good. No, Anubhav, there is no denial of arrears in advance, which is paid up by particular call. Absolutely correct. Everyone has written the correct points. Very nice. Coriander Masale Limited has issued 10 lakh equity shares of rupees 10 each, on which 6 were called till the allotment, and the first and final call of rupees 4 is yet to be made. So 10 रुपए का शेयर है, 6 रुपए बुला लिए and 4 rupees is pending. Reena holds 10,000 shares on which he has paid whole of rupees 10. In the upcoming extraordinary general meeting, he wants to exercise her voting right as the owner of the fully paid up shares. Will the company allow her to have the fully paid up shares, have the voting right? She cannot be given the voting right in respect of the advance payment because she has already paid for the first and final call. Company ने अभी कितना मंगवाया? 6. उसने 10 पे कर दिया तो उसको voting rights till 6 ही मिलेंगे. The restriction will continue till the amount is duly called by the company. Clear? See how beautifully your institute has made an effort. All the examples, illustrations, very, very important. They give you so much of conceptual clarity, children. You must read each and every. Keep making down your notes and keep reading all these examples and questions that they have given. Moonstar Machineries is authorized by its article to accept whole or amount remaining unpaid shares, even if no amount has been called. Anand, the shareholder, deposits in advance the remaining amount due to his partly paid up shares without any calls being made. What will happen now? Company is permitted to accept the advance amount from Anand. It is a valid transaction. Harsh, you were asking, see, we have clarified it clearly. So you were asking, ma'am, is the company bound to accept? Yes. All right. So it's been 1 hour and we have done so many topics. Section 47, 48, 49 and 50 we have done. Now I give you a small break. Go through these sections that we have done and then we will take up the doubts and move forward. Bhumika is asking something. DVRs are given for less controlled dilution. Is it possible? Yes, Bhumika. So I told you in DVRs you are getting the lesser voting rights, but you get some additional dividend for respect of that. So they are different either for the voting rights or maybe for the dividend that company has to decide. All right. So let's take a small break here and then we'll proceed further. Okay, Kevin, I'll just answer it after the break. So let's proceed ahead. We have completed variation. Calls should be on uniform basis. 49. Section 50 and 51 summary tells you that any calls in advance that has been made, you will not get the voting rights for that. Advance payment will not give you the rights ahead of the others. However, interest can be paid on such amounts. And Section 51 tells you that the company, if authorized by the articles, may be paid dividend in proportion to the amount paid on each share. 51 specifically talks about payment of the dividend. Let me show you from the module also. So Section 51 tells you that the dividend has to be paid. Board of directors may decide to pay dividend on pro rata basis if equity shares are not equally paid up. In case of preference shares, the dividend is always fixed rate. Okay. Ma'am, making calls in areas in advance doesn't give any benefit to the right call. So, Mr. Kevin, it all depends. If you're having more amount, if you're having more payment, then you can pay the advance amount as well. It depends upon your choice, shareholder's choice. Company is not forcing you for that. Okay. Yes, Bhumika, if DVRs are having higher voting powers, then it is, see, they have to manage as per that. Then the dividend might be lesser. So accordingly, they will try to arrange it. Illustration on page 4.18. Okay, Priya, we will just take that. What is the meaning of entire and indivisible debt? Page 4. Harsh, entire and indivisible debt means something which you have not yet seen. The debt which is going to come on your head, entire debt. You have decided to take up the shares in a company on the basis of prospectus. I will be taking up 100 shares. You have read the nominal value, it is rupees 10 per share. Now, either you pay the money now or when the company is making the call, it is your liability. You will have to pay for it. That is what is trying to tell you, that it is your liability to pay the debt. If nominal amount is same, but the paid up call is different, it is a different class. Since nominal amount is same, since they have the money, should have been same, right? Then how different paid up values? Miss P, it simply talks about if the nominal values are same and the same class of shareholders, they have paid up different. So वो आपकी paying capacity की बात कर रहा है कि आपने full नहीं pay करा. So if you have paid differently, then the company is bound to accept it. Company will not say that, okay, I will not accept. Others have fully paid up. You also fully paid up because you are of same nominal value shares. All right. I hope all your doubts are clear now. Yes, Miss P, understood. Harsh. Priya is asking about the question on 4.18. Children, you should listen carefully. It's simply calculating the percentage, beta. You simply have to calculate. If you try to find out what is the percentage, you simply have to do the percentage over here. Nothing more. Okay. So if you try to take out 3/4 of 5 shareholders, how much does it come? Yes, whose query was this? Bhumika is asking. Who is asking? Priya Mishra. If you do 3/4 of 5, it will come out to be 3.75. But how will you take the consent of 0.75 shareholders? So here, whole of the shareholders, 3's consent has to be taken. Is that clear? Okay. Yes, Nidhi, we will be doing exciting question and answers, but the syllabus is so huge. First, I want to do certain important topics with you, and then we will be jumping to the questions. Okay, maybe after section 52 and 53, we will first do the questions and then we will proceed there. Okay? Yes, Pragya, absolutely correct. It is 75% means 3/4 of the share. Anubhav, I hope your doubt is now clear. Pragya, it is not 0. It is you have to calculate 3/4. I hope everyone is clear now, children. It's just a simple MCQ. Now let's proceed ahead. Okay. So simple, you have to remember 48 में uniformity की base पे होना चाहिए, partiality नहीं होनी चाहिए. 49 में, sorry, 49 में it should be on uniform basis. This was your section 48 variation in shareholders, right? We will do certain more questions also on this. Okay. This is on uniform basis. This tells you that the calls in advance, you will not get additional voting right, but you will get interest on it if articles are up. And 51 tells you that dividend on preference shares is always at a fixed rate. And if the articles allows, under proportion of the share capital, you will get the dividend on the equity shares. Everyone is clear till here? Let's move ahead to a very interesting topic. Again, a topic which is your favorite as far as your accounts is concerned. Now, this again topic is covered in advanced accounting also. Recently, in examinations, you have got a question in advanced accounts paper. That is, how will you utilize your security premium amount? So, what is the meaning of issuing the shares at a premium? I am a company ABC Limited and I have issued the shares of the face value of rupees 10, but I issued it for rupees 14. This difference between the issue price and face value of shares, this rupees 4 I have charged for the premium. Premium pe share issue karna. That means issuing at a higher amount. Clear? So issuing the share at a 4 rupees will be securities premium. Everyone? So it says when a security is issued at a price higher than the face value, then it is said to be issued at a premium. Premium is the difference between issue price and face value of the shares. Whenever the shares are issued at a premium, the amount of premium is transferred to which account? What do you call an account? SP account? क्या बोलते हैं इसको? क्या नाम है इसका? Securities premium account. So first 3 points are clear. Shares are issued at a price higher than the face value. Whatever is the difference is the premium amount, and all this premium that rupees 4 I have collected from all the shareholders, they will be put up in a separate account, that is security premium. Security premium account is treated as the part of the paid up share capital. That is, this much is the share capital that we have paid up. Except as provided in this provisions related to reduction of share capital shall apply if SPA account were the paid up share capital of the company. Now, you will not understand reduction of share capital as of now. So when we do under section 66 reduction of share capital, then we will come to this respective point. As of now, what we have to understand is, number one, how the premium is created when the shares are issued at a higher price. The difference goes into a separate account, that is security premium account. How the utilization have to be done for this security premium amount. This is your important question. Yes, absolutely. This amount will be transferred to reserves and surpluses in the balance sheet. Excellent. So this amount of security premium account can be used for, number one, for issuing the unissued shares of the company to the members of the company. Means for issuing the bonus shares. For writing of the preliminary expenses. Now, what is the meaning of preliminary expenses? No, reduction is different, Harsh. We will discuss reduction in a separate section when we will do it. Okay? Preliminary expenses means about the pre-incorporation expenses, what we have done, initial expenses before forming the company. Whatever kharcha we have done, we can pay it off from the security premium. One is you're issuing the unissued shares to the members, you're giving them bonus shares, you're writing off the preliminary expenses, you're writing off the issue expenses, like you need to pay underwriting commission or any discount was allowed on the shares. Then all the issue expenses means when you have issued the shares, you have incurred certain expenditures while issuing the shares. Now those expenditures can be written off from the security premium amount. For paying the premium on the redemption of any preference shares or debentures. So sometimes when we repay the preference shares or the debentures are given the money back, they are repaid at a premium amount. That is, debenture holders are very happy. We just purchased the debentures for 10 rupees. Now we are getting it back for 12 rupees. So a higher amount of premium is paid at times on redemption. Now, where is the company going to pay this rupees 2 from? They will be utilizing it from the security premium amount. The premium which is to be paid on the redemption will be utilized. Buyback of the shares. Buyback means purchase of your own shares under section 16. So ये सारे buyback, reduction, section 67, 68, 66, we will do in our third lecture. As of now, children have to learn that buyback means अपनी securities को वापस purchase करना, buyback of your own share. So what are the 5 purposes for which the security premium amount can be used? Excellent. Come on, give me. Fatapat se everyone has to write in the chat box what are the 5 purposes for which security premium amounts can be used. Very nice. Excellent. All of you have given the correct answers. So we have learned the answers along with this. Buyback, bonus shares, preliminary expenses, issue expenses, and for paying the redemption on preference shares. Pragya, Soumya, Priyanka, Varsha, Nidhi, Kevin, Anubhav, very nice. So you keep on writing down. Harsh, excellent. So you keep on writing down and you keep on revising and understanding and learning the topic then and there. Everyone is clear for issuing the shares at premium, section 52. So 5 marks question if it comes and you write all these 5 points, 5 marks in your pocket. Now children, tell me, can we issue the shares at a discount? Okay, one important point is still left in securities premium. Sorry. Subsection 3. Subsection 3 says it has an overriding effect on subsection 1 and 2. It says the companies whose financial statements are prepared as per the accounting standards under section 133. Now, children, there is a difference when the Companies Amendment Act 2013 came up and under the old act. So when we were following the old act, security premium amount was used for all those 5 purposes that we have discussed in the previous one. But since 2013, we know that accounting standards 133 has become compulsory. And there are many companies whose financial statements have to comply with the accounting standards, that is AS, under section 150. Now, for those companies, the purpose of SPA will only be for 3 purposes. That is for fully paid bonus shares, for writing of issue expenses, and buyback of securities. So what are the 2 things which these companies cannot use money for? Quickly tell me. What are the 2 things for which जल्दी बता दो क्या 2 पर्पस नहीं यूज कर सकती कंपनीज विच आर फॉलोइंग 133? इश्यू एक्सपेंसेस तो कर रहे हैं ना बच्चा. एक्सीलेंट राजवीर, प्रियंका, प्रज्ञा गुड, मिस्टी गुड, Almas good, premium on redemption, and the 5th one also, what you cannot do? You are doing bonus shares also, you're doing issue expenses. Bhool bhi gaye itni jaldi? You cannot use for preliminary expenses and for paying the premium. Buyback we are doing, Priya Mishra. What happened? Kevin is correct. Ananya is correct. Priya Mishra, good. So for premium on redemption of preference shares and debentures, you cannot use, and you cannot use it for the preliminary expenses. ये 2 uses allowed नहीं है. We will have certain related MCQ also today in the class. Is that clear, everyone? So in case a company is following the financial statements as per 133, then you can only utilize the money of SPA for issuing fully paid bonus shares, for writing of issue expenses, and for buyback of securities. You cannot use for preliminary expenses, and for paying the premium on preference shares on reduction, you cannot. Now, can we issue the shares at discount? Can we issue the shares? No, ma'am, we cannot issue the shares at discount. It is not allowed. But there is only exception under section 54, which says that yes, we can issue the shares at a discount. It says, although there is a prohibition, section 53 clearly tells you that you cannot issue the shares on discount. Issuing the shares at discount means, for example, a share is having a face value of 100 and you are issuing at a lower price of rupees 95. That means this differential amount is 5 rupees is the discount. This is not allowed. Though the title uses the word prohibition, but still it is not fully prohibited. With effect from 2018, shares can be issued at discount, but only for two purposes. So you'll make your smart notes. You will write section 53 prohibits the issue of shares at discount. Example, likh lena. Only two places where it is allowed is number one, for issue of sweat equity shares under 54, we can issue the shares at discount. Other than this, any shares of issued at discount will be considered as void. What is the meaning of void? CA Foundation, remember the meaning of void? Very nice. Void means it has no meaning in the eyes of law, so it will not be considered valid, null, cancelled. Excellent, children. And second is when you want to convert your debt on companies' shares. You want to convert the debt on company into shares as a result of statutory resolution plan or debt restructuring scheme. Now, what happens? Sometimes there are so many creditors of the company and company is not able to pay money to them. So in that case, company will request the tribunal that I don't have sufficient money. Please restructure my debt. इस जो debt है, जो liability है, इसको restructure कर equity में change कर देते हैं. So you will tell your creditors, 5 lakh rupees were to be paid, but I'm sorry, I don't have 5 lakh rupees. Can I give you the shares of 5 lakh rupees? And you try to tempt them that yes, we will issue the shares at discount. सस्ते में खरीद लेंगे. Because company is in pain. It needs help. So for debt restructuring, your statutory resolution plan hota hai, if the company has gone insolvent, then also all the creditors cannot be paid fully. So in such cases, the company can convert its debt into equity. At that time, the company can issue the shares at discount. All right? Yes, absolutely, Kevin. It is a similar kind of thing that we do in accounts for your reconstructions, internal reconstructions or restructuring. In accordance with the guidelines and directions specified by RBI or the Banking Regulation Act, so you will do such restructuring only with respect to the provisions of RBI. You cannot overrule that. Now, this penalty is very important. एक हमने share certificate की penalty करी है. What have I told you for the penalties? As and where the penalties keep coming, make a separate sheet for every chapter. Keep on writing down section 46 की penalty ये है. Section 53 की penalty ये है. And all the penalties when you have pasted and when you've written on the sheet, just paste it above the chapter of the first page of the chapter so that you are very much clarified that you just have to flip the pages just a day before your exam. And all the penalties will be here pasted in your mind. Clear? So this is another important penalty. You're issuing the shares at discount without doing debt reconstructuring, without being sweat equity shares, then a penalty of amount equal to the amount raised issue of shares at a discount or 5 lakhs, whichever is less. And the company will have to refund all the money with interest at the rate of 12% per annum. This is the only penalty where you're having a interest amount. So interest at the rate of 12% per annum will be paid. Restrictions under 52 and 53 are only allowed in respect of debt-related products, like in respect of shares only, but not for bonds and debentures whose prices are due to maturity. So simply it's trying to tell you that all these restrictions that you have given, it is only for the shares. It is not for debentures, bonds, and other kind of debts. Clear, children? So if there was company ABCD Limited and it has issued the shares at a discount and it was not a sweat equity shares, neither it was debt restructuring scheme, do you think the company will have to bear the penalty? Yes, ma'am. What will be the penalty for the company? Let's assume the amount, 50 lakh amount the company has taken. So it will refund the entire 50 lakh and also pay the interest at the rate of 12% per annum from the date of issue of such shares. Everyone is clear on this? Excellent, Soumya. Good. Refund the money and Rajveer, great. Others are still thinking कि OID की penalty बताएं या company की? Officer in default की penalty अलग है. मैंने आपको पूछा what is the penalty for the company? So company's penalty is refund all the monies and rate of interest at rate of 12%. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Kevin, absolutely correct. 56 lakhs because all the 50 lakhs will be paid and rate of 12% per annum. Officer will also pay. Yes, absolutely. Officer will also pay. But Rajveer, you have to understand what the examiner is asking. Here, the examiner has asked you the penalty. What is the penalty of the company? You will say this is the penalty of the company. And yes, every officer who has done this default will be liable to pay the amount equivalent to the amount raised of the shares at discount or 5 lakh, whichever. So 50 lakhs, let's assume this is the amount at discount or 5 lakhs. So his penalty will be 5 lakh rupees. What will be the penalty of OID in this case? 50 lakhs or 5 lakhs? Very nice. All of you have answered it correctly. It is rupees 5 lakhs. Now we have done sweat equity shares also. Yes, O&D and company both will pay definitely, but examiner can ask you whose penalty the company examiner is asking, that you have to tell. Now let's have a quick test of your sweat equity shares. If a company has a paid up capital of 20 crores, paid up equity share capital of 20 crores, and it issues the sweat equity shares at the rate of what? You have to tell me. At what rate are you going to issue the sweat equity shares? Meanwhile, I'm finding the question for all of you. Excellent. So it can issue 15% of what was the amount that I've given you, 20 crores. But it cannot exceed 25% of the major limit that we have fixed over there. Okay. Higher of 15% of 5 crore, but does not exceed 25%. Excellent, Miss Almas. So 15% of 20 crores, you will calculate how much it is coming to. But it should not exceed 25%. Very good. So it is not exceeding the 25% limit. And for the startups, it is 50%. So all these limits you have to remember. Okay. All right. Now you have done variation in shareholders' rights nicely with me. So I'm going to ask you a question. Growmore Limited share capital is divided into different classes. Now the company wants to vary the rights attached to the particular class of the shares. You have to advise to the Grow More Limited. Do you need to obtain the consent of the shareholders? What will be your answer? This is the first part. What kind of consent you need from the shareholders in variation of rights? And the second question is, if it affects the rights of other class of shareholders, the rights of other class of shareholders, will your answer be different? Please read it as shareholders. Will it make any difference? So answer me first part and answer me second part briefly. I've given you 2 minutes. Everyone has to answer this. Very nice answers given by all of you. And yes, oh my God, Kevin has mentioned about dissenting shareholders also. Excellent. Consent of 3/4 of the shareholders or SR is the first one. And for the second one, excellent, Mr. Jayendra, Nisha Kumari, Priyanka Pandey, Rajveer Ray, Soumya, Priya Mishra, Rihana, Ananya, Bhumika, Priyanshi, Shailaja has given in short form. So in the first part is both the things are required, beta, or SR. You cannot say no SR. Priyanshi Tak, correct answer. Almas, Anubhav, Pragya, Julie Kumari. So many of you, my God. Miss P. Excellent. Well done, students. Well done. So this is one thing that makes me feel awesome and proud of all of you, that you really listen very carefully and you respond to the answers also. So here is the provisions how you have to write, because writing is one thing which is very important. And according to section 48, you will mention the variation has to be done with the consent of the shareholders. Nothing can be done without their consent. Where the shares are of different, the rights attached may be varied, consent writing in 3/4 of the issued shares, or means a special resolution needs to be passed. Variation must be contained. You forgot mentioning about this thing, children. Variation should not have been prohibited. Yes, Kevin, you also forgot. It should be allowed in MOA. You have to give the full answer also now. It is a big thing. Yes, Priya Mishra, good. Everyone has given the correct answer. Oh, it's okay. No need to be sorry about that, children. Yes. So yes, MOA and AOA should be allowing. There should not be any prohibition. And if the variation is affecting any class of the shareholders, then their 3/4 consent will be taken. But There is no need of SR, which is correctly mentioned by all of you. And after that, Kevin was the only one who has mentioned about this point. If there are dissenting shareholders, at least 10% of the shareholders will go to the tribunal, will file an application to the tribunal that we are not in favor of the special resolution. Please stop them. Whatever the order of tribunal will come, it will be binding on the company, but they should have gone at least within 21 days to the tribunal. Thank you so much, Miss Priyanshi Tak. She has written that we enjoyed the classes because it is very interactive with you. Thank you, child. Even I enjoy with all of you because you are so responsive. Good. All right, now let me see if we can ask you any more questions related to this. Okay, this one you can do. Oh, sorry. Walnut Limited has an authorized share capital of 1 lakh equity shares of ₹100 each and an amount of 3 crores in its share premium account. Board of Directors have advised your application for the share premium for its business purposes. Now, children, you can see such a straightforward question examiner has given you. Many a times, you know, what children does, they will read that this is something practical question related to share capital. I will try to do it later on. Maybe कोई ऐसा बच्चा जिसने ना पढ़ा नहीं होता जब उसको लगता है पता नहीं क्या complicated सा लिखा. So I want to give you one simple tip over here. Always try reading the question at least twice. Now, this 3-line questions is simple 5 marks in your pocket, which you have already answered you. Can you see what a simple question they have asked? Simply asking you about the purpose for which SP can be used, unissued shares, writing of preliminary, commission paid, premium on redemption, and buyback of securities. If you write these 5 points, you will get full marks in this question. All right. But what additional have to be written? Yes, Priyanka Pandey, that's good. If you're learning the concept smoothly, that's great. But what additional point you will write after this? Is there anything else to be written for this question? This is my question to the entire class. All the students on the Zoom and on the portal, I expect you to answer this one. Absolutely correct. Those companies which are following the accounting standards under Section 133 will not be required to follow provisions, that is preliminary expenses and premium on redemption. So keeping in view above points, Walnut Limited. Children, you're not supposed to unmute yourself. Please keep yourself on mute, all of you. So the company will proceed to utilize the security premium account as per the above mentioned provisions. Clear हो गया सबको? Very nice. Excellent answers. All of you have given the excellent answers. Great. Can equity shares with differential voting rights be issued? क्या हम ऐसे shares issue कर सकते हैं जिसके different voting rights है? Yes or no? Do you remember their conditions? What were the conditions for the same? SR needs to be passed, right? We will need to pass an SR now if we want to issue DVRs. Very good. DVRs need SR. Priyanka, I was trying to confuse you and you're confused. No, ma'am. No, ma'am is the correct answer. No. OR will be passed in differential voting rights, children. You forgot. AOI has to have the authorization. OR needs to be passed. Voting powers will be different, shall not exceed 74%, and all those points related to defaults. All the points that we have done in the chapter in my slides related to DVRs will have to be mentioned over here. Let me see. Have we done section 54? Okay. Section 58, we have not yet done, right? All right. So everyone is clear till here. So we have done section 43, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52 premium, 53 discount, 54. So 10 sections of this chapter are completed from my side. Now we are going to proceed on a very interesting topic, that is section 55, that is issue and redemption of preference shares. And we have also revised certain questions related to the same. So that's great. Sweat equity shares, everybody's clear. We have done, we have revised also. Now, what are the preference shares? You all know. Do you remember the category of preference shares, children? You must have done this thing in accounts also. There are either cumulative preference shares or non-cumulative. Let me just show it from the study also. Preference shares can be cumulative or non-cumulative, participating or non-participating. They can be cumulative or non-cumulative. What is the meaning of cumulative and what is the meaning of non-cumulative? In my last class, I remember I have shared it with you. Priyanshi, there are only these sections that which are given in the chapter. We are doing all those sections, okay? All right. Thank you so much, Miss Priya Mishra. Don't worry. I will definitely try to take up that chapter also with you. All right. Don't worry. All right. So what are cumulative preference shares? If everyone can answer me that same. Where the dividend is cumulative and paid together. If you have been, so if it is cumulative shares, then if I have profits in 1 year and the profits in another year, then my together profit, I'm trying to pay you the dividend in the third year. Then your dividend has been cumulated and together the dividend will be paid to you in the third year. So dividend of previous years will also get paid in the next year. This is the purpose of cumulative dividend. जब लॉस है तो कंपनी नहीं दे रही है, जैसे ही प्रॉफिट आएगा एक्यूमुलेट हो रहा है आपका डिविडेंड, they will pay. But non-cumulative means I had loss, I will not give. I had loss second year, I will not give. Third year, I had profit. Will I give for the first 2 years also? Yes or no? If it is non-cumulative. Absolutely correct. No. And it is, if it is cumulative, then yes. Participatory and non-participatory. This is on the basis of participation in surplus. Remember in the previous class, we were discussing about equity pool. So there are certain preference shares which are issued as participatory preference shares. जिनको हमने बोला है that what will happen? The company goes into liquidation. First, who will be repaid? Equity or preference? किसको पैसा पहले मिलेगा? Equity or preference? Preference. There was 1 crore rupees and preference shareholders were worth rupees 10 lakh. How much is the balance left for equity shareholders? 90 lakhs. Equity shareholders were 70 lakhs. We paid back. How much is the balance left? 30 lakhs. 30 lakhs. Okay. So now, if out of 30 lakhs, this is the equity pool, this is the balance which is left, is known as surplus. Who will participate in this? Generally, it is equity pool. It is equity shareholders right on this balance money because preference को तो हमने पहले बुलाकर उनका पैसा दे दिया. We have given them their money. They cannot come back again. But if it is non-participatory, they will not participate. But at the time of issue, if we told them that you are a participatory preference share, then they will come and participate in this pool of 30 lakhs also. Yeah. So those which cannot participate are non-participatory, and participatory means those who will take part in the balance surplus also. On the basis of conversion, it is a convertible. That means they can be converted into fully paid up or partly paid up, and those which are non-convertible. Now is the last category, which is actually talking about your section 55, that is redeemable preference shares and irredeemable preference shares. Get this to the Yes, yes, absolutely. They can participate, but only if it is a participatory share. Now, redeemable preference shares क्या होते हैं? जल्दी बताओ, आपने इतनी सारी एंट्रीज करी हुई है, क्वेश्चंस करे हुए हैं इसके ऊपर. Which can be taken back. Very good, Varsha. Which have to be repaid. So the preference shares are always redeemable preference shares. Irredeemable, we cannot issue. Irredeemable preference shares कोई होते ही नहीं. There are always redeemable preference shares and debentures, which are redeemed means the money is given back after a certain period of time. Irredeemable preference shares are never issued. Okay? Unless and until you have such provisions. Otherwise, irredeemable cannot be issued. Now, there is prohibition on irredeemable. A company cannot issue any preference shares which are irredeemable. This happened in the amendment of 1988, abolishing the category of irredeemable. So, who's asking? Anubhav Malik. It was there in the Companies Act 1956. ये category होती थी redeemable and irredeemable. 1988 में when Companies Act was amended, this category was abolished. Why they have mentioned? So that at least you should know that there is a prohibition. If we'll not mention only, you'll never come to know. If you ever read the word irredeemable in the old books, you might be having this. So now you should know that since 1988, it has been abolished. Now let's talk about issuing and redeeming the preference shares. Only the redeemable preference shares can be issued by company limited by shares. There are certain conditions that needs to be complied with. First of all, the condition is that articles shall authorize that yes, you can issue redeemable preference shares. Medanta Healthcare Limited is planning to raise the capital to issue of preference shares, but the articles is silent about it. Board of directors are of the opinion that redeemable share can be issued. But since article is silent, you cannot authorize the issue of preference shares expressly. Hence, you can't issue preference shares. But you must have learned about altering your articles of association in chapter number 2. So, if you want to issue, then you can alter your articles, make the changes, and then you can issue. I hope, Anubhav, your doubt is clear now. I can still see your doubt. All right. Okay, good. So example 9, everyone is clear. So let's do the points from my presentation. That is how you will be issuing and redeeming the preference shares. So first condition for issuing the preference shares is, so the first condition says we will never issue irredeemable preference shares. Whenever you issue the preference shares, it shall be authorized by the articles of association. Pass SR in general meeting. Special resolution is required. इससे पहले अभी तक special resolution कहाँ required? In today's lecture, where have you studied SR? In DVR, in bonus shares, buyback, or what? Variations. Oh my God. See, Miss P, Bhumika, Rajveer, Ananya, they have learned also. See how beautifully you're asking. Julie Kumari said DVRs. You have broken my heart, Julie. DVR में OR है. बार बार मैंने आपको रिवाइज कराई है. DVRs में OR है, ordinary resolution. Yes, Nisha Kumari, Kevin, Priyanshi, absolutely correct. It was section 72. Special securities premium amount में भी Priyanshi आपने करा Priyanka? No, it was not there. Anubhav, we'll do buyback, don't worry. So you will pass SR in the general meeting for preference shares. There shall not be any default in redeeming of the preference shares and payment of dividend. Now, I am a company ABC Limited. And in the year 2018, I am planning to issue redeemable preference shares. Irredeemable are not allowed. I am... Excuse me. Sorry, students. I am planning to issue redeemable preference shares in the year 2018. So first authorization that I have to see is that does my article allow me to issue? Then only I can issue. If it is not written in my articles, can I issue the preference shares, redeemable preference shares? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? No, ma'am. But I can alter my articles. Second is I would need to pass SR for this thing. Special resolution is required. And the third is if this company in 2018 it is planning to issue, but in the year 2015 or in the year 2016 or in the year 2000, any of the year, they have not mentioned, right? So any of these years, if the company has not paid the dividend, other preference shareholders are angry and upset. We have not paid their dividend. We have not redeemed the preference shares on time. So, can this company issue the preference shares? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? If the company has defaulted, then you cannot issue the redeemable preference shares. Redemption of preference shares and payment of dividend दोनों में ही default नहीं हुआ होना चाहिए, ठीक है? And the preference shares, so articles of association, SR, and no default. These are the three conditions. Only if these three conditions are fulfilled, then only a company can issue redeemable preference shares. How much is the time period for which the preference shares can be issued? So, child, I tried to use different colored pens just to make you understand that when you also sit for revising, have a separate notebook and register for law and try marking it out with different pens. Because this will give you a lot of conceptual clarity and your learning becomes very, very easy. जितना आप लिखेंगे, the amount of notes you will make and you will try to learn by writing, you will never forget the content. So always remember to write. Now it says preference shares can be redeemed within a period not exceeding 20 years. So what is the time limit for which they issued? They should not be issued for more than 20 years. Maximum tenure limit of 20 years. The maximum tenure will be for 20 years. But if you are an infrastructure company, what does it say? If you are infrastructure projects to make that big infrastructure things, then the company can issue preference shares for a period exceeding 20 years, but not exceeding 30. So what does it try to tell you? That the maximum tenure of preference shares can be how much, children? 20 years. If it is infrastructure company, then how many years? 30 years. ये लिख लो simple. Maximum tenure of preference shares is 20 years, but if it is infrastructure company, then it is 30 years. 30 साल तक के लिए आप issue कर सकते. But what is the condition over here? The condition is at least 10% of the preference shares shall be redeemed starting from the 21st year. So, but the condition is that redemption of at least 10% of the preference shares should be started from 21st year onward on proportionate basis at the option of preference shareholders. Ashok ji, technical support team. Sir, are you there? Ashok sir? ये कोई अनम्यूट कर रहा है बार बार, आप इनको म्यूट कर दीजिए. Clear, children? Everyone is clear? Students, you're not supposed to unmute. It creates a lot of disturbance. Children are listening the lecture, they are understanding, they're writing the points. And if you unmute unnecessary, it creates a lot of chaos. So please don't do that. So let's quickly revise the three conditions: AOA authorization, SR, and no default in payment of dividend and redemption of interest. Time period is 20 years. For infrastructure, it is 30 years. But condition is 10% shall start redeeming from the 21st year. Now, how are you going to issue preference shares? Now, this is something which is very, very interesting and you have to understand. Can you redeem the preference shares out of the profits or the proceeds of fresh? It says redemption of preference. What is the source of money? कहाँ से मिली? अब आपने redeem कर रहे preference shares, you're going to pay back their money. What is the source for this redemption? The source is, first you will use the profits of the company, which is available for dividend, or proceeds of fresh issue of shares. You will issue fresh shares in order to redeem the preference. Shares to be redeemed shall be fully paid up. Partly paid up shares क्यों नहीं हो सकते? You ask me questions. I will also ask you questions. You are my dear account students. You know everything. Why can't I have partly paid up shares? Because, ma'am, partly paid up shares are forfeited. You have breached the contract. Your shares will be forfeited. You have not paid the full money. So, only the fully paid. Very good, Mr. Dhanush. Only the fully paid shares are redeemed, not partly paid. ये दोनों points clear है सबको? From where are you going to redeem the preference shares? Out of the profits of the company and out of the proceeds of fresh issue. And then shares shall be fully paid. Now let's move to the capital redemption reserve to be created. Many of you have been thinking about this, right? CRR. What is CRR? What is CRR? पढ़ा हुआ है अकाउंट्स में, क्वेश्चंस करे हैं प्रैक्टिकल. Yes, ma'am, it is capital redemption reserve. How is it created? Very good, Kevin and Priyanka. Definition is correct. Abbreviation you have opened. Blocking the free reserves. Okay. To hide the profits from the shareholders, we create CRR out of the revenue reserve. General reserve created out of general reserves. Okay. CRR is out of the profits. If you are redeeming the preference shares out of the profits of the company, now let's move to another pen because we're doing a new topic. So when you're proceeding, you are redeeming the preference shares from the profits, a nominal amount of the shares to be redeemed out of such profits shall be transferred to the capital redemption reserve account. And this capital redemption reserve account has to be maintained with the same way as the paid up share capital is maintained. It can be reduced only in the manner the paid up share capital is reduced, means preference of redemption of preference shares is not the reduction of share capital. CRR जो reduce करोगे वो आपका reduction of share capital का जो formula है, process है section 68, there you have to apply that. But whenever the preference shares are redeemed, are you reducing the company's share capital? They are the preference shareholders, you are redeeming them, you're paying them back. So you're not reducing the share capital. Reduction of share capital, section 68. Redeeming of preference shares is not the reduction of company's share capital. Now the redemption of preference shares can happen out of the profits or out of the fresh proceeds. Now when you redeem out of the profits, then a CRR is created. What is the purpose of this CRR? A nominal amount of the shares. जितना भी आपने nominal amount shares का redeem करा है, उस amount का CRR create हो जाए. Now this CRR is used for dash. What is the purpose for which CRR can be used? It can only be used for paying fully paid up bonus shares. Excellent. Very good. हो गया ना interlink accounts and Law. I hope you all are enjoying the class. You are enjoying the learning of law, a practical knowledge that you have learned and gained, and now you are understanding the principles behind that. However, the companies whose financial statements comply with accounting standards, okay, first let me read that. Excellent, Mrs. Deepika. That is so real. Everything is interlinked, Soumya says. Good. Dhanush, CRR is capital redemption reserve, which is created when you are redeeming the profits, when you're redeeming the preference shares out of the profits of the company, then an amount equal to the nominal amount of the shares you will be transferring to the capital redemption reserve. And now this reserve is only used for paying the fully paid bonus shares. सिर्फ ये 2 पॉइंट आपने लर्न करने हैं, इस पे ज्यादा नहीं करना. सीआरआर को आपने पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल की तरह मानना है, और जब भी सीआर कम होगा उसको आपने रिडक्शन ऑफ शेयर कैपिटल की तरह ट्रीट करा जाए. सीआरआर का सिर्फ पर्पस है टू पे फुली पेड बोनस शेयर्स. एवरीवन इज क्लियर? नाउ माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, इट सेज प्रीमियम ऑन रिडेम्पशन ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स शैल बी गिवन आउट ऑफ द प्रॉफिट्स और सिक्योरिटी. तो आपने कहा मैम 100 रुपी का तो हमने प्रेफरेंस शेयर रिडीम कर दिया, बट प्रीमियम भी तो था 20 रुपीज का ऑन द प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स. So I told you that this 100 can be paid either out of the profits of the company or you can use the fresh proceeds. यही था ना? You can either use the profits of the company or you can use the fresh proceeds. But this 20 rupees will be paid out of what? जल्दी बताओ मुझे. Out of the profits of the company और SPA account. अभी हमने क्रिएट करा था ना सेक्शन 52 में सिक्योरिटी प्रीमियम अकाउंट. Can I use this money? Yes, ma'am. It will be paid out of profits or security premium. Security premium में तो हमने clearly पढ़ा है that it can be utilized for paying the premium on preference shares and debentures. But the companies who are complying with the financial statements under section 133, they cannot use SPA. पढ़ा ना अभी हमने. आपने ही मुझे बताया था मैम preliminary expenses and premium के लिए use मत करना. So here, if this is the company, then you use only out of the profits. Such premium can be given for before such redemption. So you can create a provision for such premium so that you can reap it. Register of members will contain the details of preference shareholders also. Now, when we will do the chapter MGT, I told you management and administration. There, section 88, 89 tells you about register of members, register of debenture holders. So what register of members is created? You give all the details of the equity shareholders. Similarly, all the details of preference shareholders is also to be given. So you will make all the records and entries in the register of members. Clear? Let's have a quick recap from the chapter also. Maximum tenure of 20 years. If it is infrastructure company, then you will issue the preference shares for 10 years, 50 years, 30 years. 30 years, good. How much of the preference shares should be redeemed from the 21st year? My God, so many intelligent students in my class. Everybody clear? 10%, very nice. 20 to 10, Anubhav, it's 10%. If company want to list its preference shares, then it can issue the shares only as per SEBI. So if you're planning to list your preference shares on recognized stock exchange, please follow the SEBI guidelines. Maximum tenure, 20%, 10%, we have done all these things. Out of the proceeds, fresh proceeds, everything is clear. Let me see some examples over here. So during the current financial year, Board of Directors is to undertake redemption of 20,000 preference shares of rupees 100 each and 20 rupees the premium. It is made out of the accounts department that the profits are sufficient to meet the liability arising on the preference shares redemption. The amount that needs to be transferred to CRR out of the profits, which is otherwise available for dividend, is 20 lakh, being the sum equal to the nominal. तो जो भी CRR का डाउट पूछ रहे थे, प्लीज देख लो यहाँ पे. 20,000 के शेयर्स थे, 100 रुपीज के होने थे, तो कितना अमाउंट आपका रिडीम हो रहा है? 20 lakh shares, is that correct? So this amount of 20 lakhs has to be transferred to CRR. There is no need to transfer CRR account any amount for the premium. So only the amount which is used out of the profits for the nominal value of the shares, that is 100 rupees, that will be transferred to CRR, not the amount of premium. Clear है? And what are the sources of premium, children? Premium kahan se pay hoga? Out of the profits, and out of the SPA. But if you're 133 company, then you will not use SPA. They have given you a beautiful chart also. If the company is not in a position to redeem the preference shares or to pay the dividend on such preference shares, then they become unredeemed preference shares. अब कई बार क्या होता है, कंपनी की ऐसी हालात हो जाते हैं कि इट इज नॉट एबल टू रीपे द डिविडेंड और द पेमेंट ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स. Then the company will make an application to the tribunal. That tribunal, please help me now. So how many people will make? 3/4 of the value of these shareholders who have not been redeemed will file a petition with the tribunal. Why do we always go to the tribunal? Because under Companies Act, we always go to the National Company Law Tribunal for all our problems. And once we go to this tribunal, we will tell them that we are not being, company is not able to pay our money. So here the company will issue further redeemable preference shares to these people, equivalent to the amount due as well as equivalent to the dividend. And when such additional preference shares are issued, it shall deem to have been redeemed. जो unredeemed preference shares थे वो मान लिया जाएगा कि वो redeem हो. See, listen very carefully. एक होता है, I want to pay back 20 lakh rupees. I will issue the proceeds, fresh shares in the market. I will get the money. I will repay my 20 lakh rupees. Everyone is clear on that? Premium amount also is clear how we will pay. And this 20 lakh CRR is also created. This is also clear. But now my company is not having money to pay this 20 lakh. So 3/4 of the value of the shareholders will file a petition with tribunal that company is not returning the money. So tribunal will say that, okay, issue redeemable preference shares to them of the equal amount. So we are not allowed to extend the preference shares. So if the preference shares are issued for 10 years, it has to be redeemed after 10 years because maximum tenure is 20 years. You cannot not have more than 20 years unless and until your infrastructure company. So if your preference shares were issued for 12 years, you have to be redeemed after 12 years. But now I don't have money, so I can't extend your time limit. So tribunal gives me the right कि इनको और issue them more redeemable preference shares. So this more redeemable preference shares shall deem to be that the preference shares have been redeemed. Clear? So unredeemed preference shares will be issued the additional preference shares. Now just take 2 minutes, go through the topic, read it and ask any doubts. Meanwhile, I'll just look for more MCQs for all of you. So you can go to the tribunal. Yes, Miss Kinari. Miss Kinari, you want to
Hello,
ask?
ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, beta.
Ma'am, actually, I'm here for the first time in your lecture live, and because of certain reasons, I have just started today. and my backlog is little more. I know because this is almost fifth or sixth chapter going on. So
It's
my
fourth chapter.
only Okay, ma'am. Sorry, I actually was. This is my. I have just started preparing for September exams, and because of certain reasons, I have just began the classes with ICAI since 2 days. So my whole my concern was, ma'am, I'm law is already my weak subject. This is going to be my second attempt, and I really performed worst in the first attempt in law. I don't know
All
what to
right.
do.
All right, Miss Kinari. Okay, mute yourself. So, first of all, children, it's absolutely normal to get anxious or worried. When I was a student, I was studying law, even I used to have these itches and feelings. But what is the thumb rule that you have to remember? Even if you're starting studying from today, it's absolutely okay. Whatever the teacher is teaching you, try to be regular in the class. From now onwards, at least, Miss Kinari, you try to be regular. Don't take a break in between, okay? And other students also revise whatever you have done in the class. Try to understand the content in the class and revise it. If you'll not revise, you will never be able to remember. So if you keep doing it with regularity, and any of you, if you have missed your previous things, you can definitely go to the recorded lectures and listen it. But try to be regular, because every lecture has new things. We have new questions for you. So try to be regular and keep revising. All right. So this is the summary of what I was explaining you from the study. If the company is not in a position to redeem the preference shares or not paying the dividend, it will be called as unredeemed preference shares. Now the company will issue further redeemable preference shares only if 3/4 of the consent of the shareholders have filed application with the tribunal. They have taken the approval. In this way, जो unredeemed नहीं हो पाए, जिनके लिए पैसा नहीं था, they shall deem to have been redeemed. And example number 11 in study material is your homework that you have to go through. And let's welcome ma'am. Ma'am is also here. Shraddha ma'am, you're there.
Yes. Good evening, students. I hope all my students are in full mood today, because tomorrow is, I think, a holiday for most of the students. So, dear students, today was the second class for share capital, and you have covered approximately half of. No, ma'am, didn't know about it. So, tomorrow also you will be having your office, Kevin. I thought the offices or your articleship of placements will be closing for tomorrow, as it's a holiday for most of the people. कोई बात नहीं. आज आपने अभी, yes ma'am, so many of the students are having a holiday. चलो. So आज हमने approximately half syllabus अपना हम share capital का complete कर चुके हैं. महावीर जयंती प्रियंका. अब हाफ सिलेबस में हाफ टॉपिक कंप्लीट हो चुका है. उसके हिसाब से आप लोगों को क्या लगता है कि आपकी कितनी प्रिपरेशन हो चुकी है? So ma'am, can I assess my students for some questions? Great, great. मैम अब आंसर्स कॉन्फिडेंटली दे पाते हैं.
Yes, definitely, ma'am.
वेरी गुड. सो आई एम सो हैप्पी कि हरलीन मैम की गाइडेंस में आप बहुत अच्छे से परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं. तो चलो आप लोगों से छोटे छोटे से क्वेश्चंस पूछती हूँ. एंड ड्यूरिंग दैट एक चीज जो मैं आज आपसे और पूछूंगी, एंड उसका आंसर आप सब मुझे नेक्स्ट क्लास में दें. ओके
Ma'am, we have done till redemption of preference shares, section 55.
Section redemption of preference shares. Yes.
Yes, we have completed till there. So you
Okay.
can ask
So
them
we
from
have, yeah, ma'am, sorry.
you can ask them from 46, 48, 55, 54, anything related to
Sure.
that.
So I'm asking one MCQ from you, which is a PQR Infrastructure Limited wants to issue preference shares for a period exceeding 20 years for financing its proposed infrastructure project. So it's a infrastructure limited company in the business of infrastructure, and it is wanting to issue preference shares for a period exceeding 20 years. Okay. So what can the company do? Tell me which of the following statements is correct. Yes, the company can issue irredeemable preference shares by passing a special resolution. Yes, option B. Yes, the company can issue preference shares for a period exceeding 20 years with prior approval of central government. C. Yes, the company can issue irredeemable preference shares for infrastructure project. Number D. Yes, the company can issue preference shares for financing an infrastructure project for a period exceeding 20 years. Give the correct answer, students.
You have to give the answers to ma'am directly.
Yes,
because
I can see. Students are sending me the answers. Okay. So one of the students has written C. Many of the students are writing D. Any student, kindly raise your hand. Any of the student who is ready to give me the reasoning. And reasoning is not required during your examinations, but then also I'm asking. Ma'am, show question once. Okay, I will be doing it from next class. I'm working on that also so that I can share my questions with you. Okay? From next class onwards, I will do that also. But any of the student who is ready to tell why their answer is C or why their answer is D.
Okay, Priyanka has raised her hand.
Okay, Priyanka. Okay, many students are doing it. So Priyanka was the first one. Kindly, Priyanka, unmute and let us know your reasoning.
Ma'am, for infrastructure companies, company can redeem for 30 years. After 21 years, they should redeem 10% of the preference shares.
Okay. Okay, why can't we have, okay, I'm just furthering it. Why can't we issue shares, irredeemable preference shares for a normal company? Because can they issue it for 50 years?
No, ma'am. It's for 20 years.
In case of infrastructure company?
30 years.
Correct. So, most of just a moment. Just a students. No, ma'am, as per amendment in 1988, it can't issue irredeemable shares. Yes. Irredeemable preference shares are not allowed. And then they have kept the limit as 20 years. And for companies involved in infrastructure related projects, it's for 30 years. Priyanka, you can lower your hand. So the correct option is option D. Next MCQ is where there is a change in the rights of one class of shareholders of a company that also affects the right of another class therein. So they are talking about change in rights of one class of shareholders of a company. Okay. Then what the company needs to do? First, A is a special resolution should be passed at a journal meeting in this regard. B, the company need not do anything further. C, the consent in writing of 3/4 of such other class of shareholders shall also be obtained. D, a resolution at a joint meeting of both the classes should be passed. Give the correct answer, students.
You have to tell that what will be the correct answer if you're trying to affect the rights of another class of shareholders. All right.
Okay. So the correct answer in this case, Anand Ruthi, why have you written D?
Repeat the question. They are saying
Yeah.
few of you have written to me. Listen very carefully, children. Listen very carefully.
Let me just try if I can. Okay.
Should I try?
No, ma'am. Let's not. अगर एक क्लास ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स के राइट इफेक्ट हो रहे हैं तो हमारे पास क्या क्या ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं? 1, हमें एक एसआर पास करना पड़ेगा जर्नल मीटिंग में. बी, कंपनी को कुछ भी करने की जरूरत नहीं है. सी, कंसेंट आपको चाहिए 3/4 ऑफ सच अदर क्लास ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स. डी, जॉइंट मीटिंग ऑफ बोथ द होगी दोनों क्लासेस ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स की और उसमें एक रेजोल्यूशन पास हो. नेक्स्ट क्लास ऑनवर्ड आई विल बी showing you my PPT also. So most of the students are saying C, but one student is saying D. Can you please explain me why you are saying D?
Indeed, it was given joint meeting of the shareholders have to be held. Have you
Is
read
there
it?
any provision in the act with respect to this that a joint meeting of both the classes of shareholders is to be held? Okay. Right. So Bhumika, you have said, and some other student have also said, Sunil has also said that both A and C. Can you explain why? Bhumika, you please unmute yourself and let me know that why you are saying both A and C. Bhumika, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I thought that you were asking about both shareholders and yes, ma'am.
Be confident. Confidence से बोलो जो बोलना है, डरो मत.
ओके मैम, मुझे लगा कि वो हमें स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन भी पास करना होता है पहले, उसके बाद हम क्लास बी शेयर होल्डर से के जो कंसर्न है उससे पूछते हैं. मैंने दोनों के बारे में जवाब दे दिया था, ए एंड बी.
So MCQ may always you have to take one. Will you give in the exam too? Thank you.
No.
Okay. Any student who can give me an answer why only D? अगर कोई मुझे Bhumika, you may please mute. Okay, Priyanka, any other student? Why? Okay, Priyanka, you tell me why no SR? Priyanka, please unmute yourself.
Okay, Anubhav has raised, Miss P has raised. They have done it very nicely today. Yes, Anubhav.
Okay, let's give chance to Miss P. Miss P or Anubhav, I have like Miss P, please you tell that why there should not be any SR.
Should I
Miss
allow?
P.
Okay, are you now able to mute yourself? Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, like SR will like only when A class rights are there is any variation in only one class of shareholders, only then we will pass special resolution or 75% of the written consent we will take. But when another class rights are also getting affected, that then only 75% of their written consent will be obtained. No SR for them, ma'am.
Excellent.
So technically the correct answer is option C. Okay. However, in this case, as a board faculty, I will tell you, we may even take option A as correct. Yes, that's what I'm saying. SR is required but the most appropriate answer is 3/4. That is option C. So in this case, we will mark answer as option C. SR की कंडीशन हमें फुलफिल करने के लिए अगर हम सेक्शन के हिसाब से चलेंगे, सो द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, हम बोल रहे हैं कि एक क्लास ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स के राइट इफेक्ट्स हो रहे, तो हमें 3/4 की कंडीशन मेजर कंडीशन है. हम हमेशा आपको बताते हैं, इफ यू वुड हैव सीन माय फर्स्ट लेक्चर आल्सो, वी ऑलवेज से व्हाइल राइटिंग द आंसर्स फॉर दिस MCQs, you have to mark the most appropriate answer. अब मैं आपको यहाँ पर एक चीज और बोलूंगी, अगर कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन आता है जिसमें आपके पास 2 ऑप्शंस करेक्ट होते हैं, डू रीड कि आपका जब आप एग्जाम का फॉर्म फिल करते हो और आपके पास एडमिट कार्ड आता है, तो उसके साथ आपके लिए एक डिटेल्स आती हैं कि आपको क्या क्या फॉलो करना होता है. समटाइम्स दे से कि in the OMR sheet you are allowed only to fill 1 correct answer. Even if there are 2 correct answers, तो भी आपको 1 fill करना होता है. तो kindly read what is written in your annexure to the admit card. वरना हो सकता है वो आपके उस आंसर को रीड ही ना करे अगर आपने 2 आंसर्स मार्क कर दिए. ओके? So ma'am, since we are already at 8:32, that was a snippet from my side कि students should know something extra. So
Yes.
आप अपना एडमिट कार्ड के साथ एनेक्चर को बहुत ध्यान से पढ़िएगा. OMR शीट में आपका कहीं वो, बिकॉज इट्स कंप्यूटराइज्ड, तो कहीं वो आपके पूरे आंसर को ही गलत ना कर दे. If by time we there is some another technology or the rules have changed, तो आपके दोनों आंसर भी करेक्ट माने जा सकते हैं. बट OMR शीट में जनरली एक ही आंसर करेक्ट माना जाता है. ओके, so that's it from my side, and I will meet you again in the next class. Anything
Yes,
else, students, that you want to ask me? So ma'am, the students don't have any questions for me as of now.
Yes.
So
Right,
I will
ma'am.
take
Thank
care.
you so much, ma'am. Your knowledge enhancing is always appreciated for the students also, and we also get to learn so many new points.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, students. So we have completed till section 55, and my request to all of you, please revise it properly, make your notes, and try solving some of the questions that you have. You can solve from the back study also, descriptive questions. Priyanka Pandey is asking, ma'am, how to make notes. So whatever we are writing in the class and whatever we have done, please keep writing it and keep revising it, okay? And sab learn ho jayega, don't worry. Thank you, Bhumika. CRR, okay, Soumya, revise it now. We will definitely discuss in detail CRR in the next time also. Thank you, Anubhav. Happy Mahavir Jayanti to you all also. Thank you, all of you. All right. Good. I'm happy, Priyanka. Class mein sab learn ho jate. That's very nice. All the details are printed in the mind, Bhumika says. All right. Thank you. Yes, you all can leave now. Thank you so much, sir. We are done with the lecture. All Hanji. Yes, Kinari, definitely try to see in the next class also. Thank you so much. Yes, sir, we are done.